Thank you for tuning in today to WDRB Media, the voice of the community. And we are your illustrious host of the Digital Leap Radio Show, CookieTruth and
Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
Yes, and we are here today to discuss holidays and traditions and the beliefs that we share, because the whole point of the Digital Leap is to really just break down from generation to generation as a mother-daughter duo the things that maybe I believe or hold on to as new traditions that maybe you don't believe and hold on to as your own tradition, because we were obviously brought up in different generations. So we just want to hold space for this conversation because the digital leap is upon us. We are currently digitally leaping.
For real.
And so everything changes when you're in a digital leap, and that doesn't always have to be a bad thing. So we really wanted to talk about what that looks like for us as in our family, and then, you know, our views on that as far as like the broader picture, right? The big world out there that has come together because of social media. So let's start by saying thank you to our sponsors, CookieTruth Media Group and God's For You nonprofit organization. We are so happy to be here today and to discuss this because, Mom, we talk about this a lot. Social media has really just kind of like change the way that people interact, right?
Absolutely.
So if I make a post and I say that I hate spending Thanksgiving with my family because they're toxic, there's going to be people in that comment section that's going to be agreeing with me, and I'm going to feel good about that. Like, see, I'm not the only one with toxic family, and we need to set our boundaries because I don't have time for crazy drama, right? Now, on the other hand, you're going to have people that also will disagree and be like, oh, you need to just be with your family, you need to love them, you need to just, you know.
And get over it and all
that. Too. People say all sorts of things, right? And then we're not going to agree or disagree at this point because we're just having a conversation, right? But it is important to note how much something like social media has changed things, because now you're able to make a post and you're able to say, hey, this is what I like or this is what I dislike, and you're going to have people that agree with you. You're going to have people that, disagree with you. So it's just kind of interesting how the digital leap really has affected our views, because now maybe you're pumped up because you got some people agreeing, or maybe you're a little sad and depressed because you got some people disagreeing. What does that really look like for us, you know?
Yeah.
Nowadays it's different.
Well, absolutely. But the thing that I'd like people to always remember, that opinions are just what it is, opinions.
Right.
And you need to always we should always be respectful of another person's opinion, even, you know, if it doesn't agree with what we, you know, think or whatever. But,
and there's a way to respectfully disagree and
absolutely.
consider someone else's opinion and not have to like force them into agreeing.
And getting so upset that you start going off into a negative reaction and causing more drama that is not necessarily needed, because you know, like you said, it's an opinion.
Exactly.
And so I just think that with the digital era that we're living in now, I believe it has its great advantages.
Sure.
Because it just, you get more, information is more readily at hand.
Sure.
And
you can Google anything in the blink of an eye.
In the blink of an eye, and get an answer, and you can get facts too that can obliterate the opinion factor if it gets down to that.
Facts definitely come into the Twitter world, especially, or even TikTok, because people actually have pages dedicated towards revealing the facts of something and disproving things, you know, and it makes for really good learning. That's one of the reasons why so many people love TikTok. Is like they've learned so much. They learned how to cook something, or they learned the truth about something. So it doesn't always have to be bad, for sure. We're not saying that, but it is important to discuss, because these are the kinds of things that really can affect our society. It can affect how we interact with each other.
And families, you know, it helps. And I believe that when, you know, things are so easily seen and stuff, you know, it can add to families' dynamics, and it can really add to a lot of positive outcomes of things. And because we know that a lot of times issues come up, and because because of the digital era that we're in, we can get help that we need to move forward in a more positive way.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful part about it, is that help is more easily accessible now as well.
Yes.
So that's another positive that definitely has come out of it. Yeah. But it's just so cool to me how our views maybe have changed, like as far as traditions and how we view those traditions. Because like I'm sure there's things that maybe you guys did growing up that we are not doing now. It's just a different time or different, generation. So what comes to mind, like, if I ask you, what was something that you guys did growing up that maybe we don't do anymore?
As far as like within the Christmas season that we're in right now, as kids growing up, we went into the woods, and that was something that we looked forward to, as going and cutting down a tree, a pine tree.
I can say we never did that. I don't remember ever having a live tree.
Yeah, and the smell of that pine is so refreshing.
Now, I will say it does smell good.
Yeah,
pine does smell good.
And so we looked forward to doing that and decorating. And one of the craziest things that I do remember is decorating the tree was this thing that called angel hair that we would put on the tree.
Yeah.
And if it got on your skin, it would itch you crazily. And we did it. We put it on there.
It must have been really, really beautiful as a finished product, because I don't imagine I'd want to be touching something that was going to have me all itchy.
You had to be very careful, I'll tell you
that. That sounds like an allergic reaction that I do not want to have. So yeah, it must have been really, really beautiful.
Yeah. And then another thing that pops into my head that was very traditional as far as the yard was concerned, because we had a large pine tree in the yard, and when the season changed, the pine would fall, turn brown, and you had to rake it up, and we look forward to that too.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. See, I'm a city girl. You was in the country. Yes, I grew up in the city, so that right there, that's a difference.
That's a leap.
Yeah, definitely a leap.
And so, we would rake up the straw, and we could burn it in the yard. That was acceptable. And we would let it burn, and when it started to go out, you could stoke it, and the ambers that flew up in the air were so pretty, and we looked forward to just throwing it the burnt out straw up in the air and seeing the ambers just flying and just giving us
it's like joy in the little things, just being in the country, having a good time, enjoying the simple life. But then when it changes generations. Now we're growing up in the city. I ain't interested in all of that.
Yeah, because and you know what comes to mind, because as the seasons changes, your life changes as well. You're not always in the same. Like right now, I grew up in the country, but I grew up in the city. And it made a big difference,
Yeah, you were from the deep south of South Carolina, and then eventually migrated to, the East Coast. So just going from country life to city life, that definitely will create new traditions and different things, as far as the stuff that you used to look forward to is just different now. And I guess that did translate as far as my generation, because we grew up in the city. So we weren't, going and getting a fresh tree. Not that we couldn't, not that people don't still do it, but that wasn't something that carried over.
One thing that was always important is that we celebrated in that way, having a tree, but most importantly was family, when we're going to get together and just, what foods.
Now that's the thing that carried over. Yes. Our family has always really prioritized quality time. So our family has a love language, and it is quality time. It is quality time, yes. We're going to get together, and we're going to eat some food, and we're going to laugh. If we don't do nothing else, we're going to be together, we're going to eat, and we're going to laugh.
And we might throw a game or two in there, some kind of board game, Scrabble, or right now.
Listen, Scrabble had y'all in a chokehold. Let's just be honest. Scrabble had y'all in a chokehold for many a decade, because that was the one game that I guess everybody could agree that they would play. I don't know, because sometimes when you're trying to get people to play board games and different stuff, it's hard sometimes to get people to agree. Like most black families will play spades or some kind of card game. But I think you guys weren't allowed to play cards growing up, so that wasn't something that carried over for us in particular.
No, we weren't. My dad more was the one. Did not want us to play cards.
Yeah, and that was not okay.
That was a no. But when Dad is away, the mouse must play.
Uh-oh.
And so
Sounds like trouble.
And Mom was, she was kind of like, okay, she turned her head away, she just would let us have fun. And we played, and she didn't object to it, but we knew when Dad came home, we had better be on our best behavior.
Right, better get on the good foot. And better not be no cards in sight. No, we're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, not that he didn't know we did, but he just,
But being caught in the act is different, I guess. Yeah. But that's so interesting, though, because that, in your childhood, carried over to where even into my childhood, we didn't grow up playing card games like that.
That's
like right. Maybe solitaire eventually, Tunk eventually, like those kind of low-key, I guess you could say, card games. But to this day, there is no family gathering where people are busting out some cards and playing card games to this day. That's very interesting. Like, we get together on holidays, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or even New Year celebration, nobody is playing card games like with other families because of that one tradition, I guess you could call it, that has carried over to now.
That's true.
Yeah, so I find that very interesting. So, like, all right, we got to backtrack a little bit because we got to talk about like Christmas with your family. Is there anything that you feel like did carry over besides quality time or didn't carry over now? Is there anything else?
That's a good question. And as I think about it, no, I don't recall anything
in particular.
No.
Yeah, I just wonder because I know for us, like, we're just able to do more things because your family, you grew up poor and it was a big family, so you didn't have as much as far as resources and ability to do stuff. But now we'll hop in the car, we'll go tour a neighborhood that we know has a lot of like cool decorations and lights and stuff. But was that something that you guys did growing up?
No, we didn't jump in the car and just go riding.
Too many of y'all to fit in a car, first of all.
No jumping. No leaping.
No.
But we looked forward when we did have to go out during the time, we would look to see what lights were put up, in the neighborhood.
But that wasn't the thing, like a tour of the neighborhood. Because I was thinking about that. I'm like, first of all, if you don't have very much money, do you even have money to put lights up and just have your electric bill just running? You know what I mean? There's that, and then the gas to be getting around a neighborhood, however far it is. You may not want to overextend yourself and do that. And again, you had a big family, so y'all weren't going to be able to fit in one car. So now you got to try and get a cousin in their car to fit everybody. It's a lot to take on. So that's definitely something that is different for us now versus for you, because I remember plenty of times us driving around different neighborhoods because they were just lit up. I mean, people be going all out around this time of year, so it's really cool to see. But so that's definitely one thing that we do now that you guys didn't do for sure.
No. And like you said, limited funds would always determine the outcome.
Yeah, that determines a lot of things. A lot of traditions have been created because of not having a lot of funds, and it worked out for the best. So again, it doesn't have to be a bad thing at all.
No, not at all. But I want to kind of go back to what we were talking about, having, social media to be able to kind of share opinions and ideas and just different traditions, if will.
Right.
And like growing up, we had the party line, the telephone.
Oh yeah, that's so funny to me. Because I just think about that. Like, people are literally sharing a phone line. And people are nosy. That is never going to change. So to just pick up the line and hear somebody else talking, you ain't about to hang up just because you hear somebody else talking. You're going to be listening.
Exactly. And you have to wait until they get off the line. And if you would, need to make a call, you got to wait for that person to hang up.
Yeah, and if it's an important thing.
Then it would be respectful enough to let you get an emergency call in. But
like, hey, I need to make a call. This is an emergency. And then it's like, oh, okay.
But other than that, you just have to wait. But,
I know some people had to lie and be acting like something was an emergency and it wasn't. I could just see that going that way.
Probably so. But, I kind of relate the party line to social media today.
It has taken a digital leap for sure.
It certainly has, because everybody can get on and share their opinions. But one thing about it, the difference is that we don't have to wait for one another anymore. That has changed.
Right. Yeah. You get your own platform in a sense. You're not having to wait for the other person to get off before you can get on. That type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so interesting because just the concept of having to share a phone line is not how it works anymore, not even in the slightest.
And I'm thinking some people may, find that kind of funny too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we are definitely going to continue this conversation, but we got to keep the lights on, y'all. So we'll be right back after these important messages.
Because we need to see.
We got to see. All right, we are back. We are tuned in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. We are back. And we were just talking about the party line, and I just have to laugh one more time before we change the subject, though, because really, that is hilarious. I don't know if anybody else finds that funny, but I do, and I just needed to take a moment and laugh, because that is absolutely hilarious to think about. There was a time where you would pick up a phone, a landline phone, y'all. Y'all remember landlines? Some of y'all might still have one, but most of us do not.
No.
But you would pick up your landline, and there would be other people on the phone.
Having a conversation.
A whole conversation. And you had to either wait your turn or request respectfully to make a call in order to reach whomever it was you were trying to reach.
Yep, times have changed.
We just had to say RIP to the party line. and now we have social media where you can share whatever you want to share. You can go live when you want to go live.
At any point in time.
At any point in time. That is so wild to me. But I know we wanted to talk as well about something that's more like into the area of tradition, but with beliefs, because of Halloween. So we had Halloween, and it's always a hot topic around Halloween because you get a lot of like the Christian world that has their opinion. Some people celebrate it and feel fine about it, and then other people are like, we don't do that over here on this side, and we good on all of that. And there's reasons why on both sides that people have their valid points. So it's just interesting, and I wanted us to talk about that a little bit because I wanted to know, like, when you were growing up, what was the feeling behind Halloween? Like, how did you guys do Halloween, and if you celebrated at all?
Yeah, we didn't have costumes per se because, like, when you are financially limited, you don't always, have the privilege or the opportunity to really express, by going out and buying something that you prefer,
that makes sense. Yeah.
But we had the privilege of just acknowledging and really, celebrating in a sense that was not harmful. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
That's the thing that I want to say. And we understood that it was all about just going about getting candy and stuff like that. But my dad, being the man that he was, he didn't buy into that, as far as Halloween and celebrating and stuff like that. And we understood the reason why, because it did not promote a Christian perspective.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he didn't forbade us to do it.
Yeah.
But my mom was more understanding, and she understood kids are going to be kids, and that's the thing that you have to always understand. And you don't want to isolate them and put them into a situation that's going to be difficult for them to.
Not unnecessarily. I mean, there's enough trouble in the world.
And to just go around and get candy and just have a good time.
Yeah.
There was no harm, in doing that, but because you understood the foundation and the basis of what the whole purpose and the reason why you were not permitted, and why you are permitted.
I got you. So it sounds to me like it's one of those things where you can participate to a degree, but there's some boundaries within that. So we'll celebrate in the sense of getting some candy, because of course everybody likes candy.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you're not, harping into whatever traditions may underline that particular holiday. Because like with Halloween, what makes it such a tricky thing for a lot of people is because of the origins and the roots of it. Mm-hmm. And depending on who you ask, the origins are going to be one thing or another. They're going to be dark-seated past, dark-seated history, and different things. And there are, still people today that carry out certain bad traditions as it relates to Halloween. And we won't get into the specifics here on this broadcast, but there are different, negative traditions that can carry over for some people with Halloween. So with that said, I can understand why some people, and they may not even be a Christian, but they just know the history of Halloween, and so they just therefore want nothing to do with it. But then to your point, you were saying how, your mom was a lot more understanding because of course, there's kids and they want to be able to get free candy. They want to just have fun. And I think about that because I'm like, I know plenty of people who will buy a costume and record a video and do their own thing outside of Halloween. Like, it don't even have nothing to do with Halloween. So to them, what difference is it that it's Halloween other than more people are doing what they already do because they're, those kind of outgoing people, or maybe they're from theater, or maybe they're, from a different background creatively to where they're not thinking of dark-seated history with stuff. They want to have fun. And a way to have fun for them is to tap into a role or a character and have fun with it.
Exactly. But there's a scripture that I have to relate to this that says that, so a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And so when if you thinking of doing this from an evil perspective, then you're inviting in evil.
Yeah, because motives do matter.
It does.
If you're doing things from an impure motive or an evil motive, then that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I also think about how, like, when kids are really, really young, they don't know whether they're coming or going, right? That they don't care. So if you're not introducing Halloween in particular to them when they're super young, then they're not going to have anything against it if they don't get to do it later per se, because it wasn't something that they were brought up looking forward to.
Right.
However, once kids get about that school age and they just start learning and getting exposed to different things, all they really want is the free candy, and they like their favorite superhero or whatever, and so to get to dress up as that character is just a fun experience. So I don't know, for me, I try to not harp on the evil of things when I know that that's not the heart behind it. Exactly. And that's just something that I am particular about because I know that I might not celebrate Halloween in the sense where I'm not decorating and I'm not doing all of that, but that's just a preference of mine. I'm not going to not have candy for the trick-or-treaters because I was one of those crazy type prophetic people that would just pray over the candy and ask the Lord to just bless whoever had, candy that came out of my little bucket and knocked on my door, like, God be with them,
Exactly.
And I just feel like that was an opportunity for me to show some kind of love and care for the fact that these kids are going, getting candy. So I actually have something for them. But then to take it a step further, I can pray for people that I wouldn't normally encounter because now they're at my door and I'm able to give them something, and I don't know, it's just a different way of looking at things that doesn't have to be so dogmatic.
Yeah, that's the thing. And a lot of times I think that's where problems are created when we are not looking from a more broader perspective, if you will. And I think that when we be about just showing love and affection and just showing
people where they are in a sense.
Yes, I think that we'll be more effective if we do it that way as opposed to being so dogmatic.
Nobody is ever going to 100% see something from your perspective. Whether you're quoting scriptures or whether you have lived through something, that part really doesn't matter because things have to click for that person. As a business coach, personally speaking, there have been plenty of conversations and that I've had with clients, and they'll say, "Oh, show me how to grow my social media. Show me how to, make this part of my business more effective." And I will try my best to, formulate my words and strategy and break things down for people in a way that suits their business and suits where it is that they're at. But the work can only be done by them. They have to be able to comprehend. They have to be able to wrap their mind around what it is that they're learning, the information that they're intaking, and then they can act upon it. But I can only do what I can do out of it, right?
And this is what, as you were speaking, this is what I saw in my mind, is laying a foundation. Excuse me. Everything starts with a foundation.
Sure.
And however you build upon it is how it's going to be effective to suit what it is that you need it for, whatever, And I think that that's what we have to always be mindful of. Lay the foundation of whatever you want to come up out of it.
Right.
And then, if there's anything being added, you have the information to say, no, that doesn't go there, or that doesn't work that way, or whatever. Yeah. As far as children are concerned, I'm going back to, raising children, and as you said earlier about, when they become exposed to other things, then, you want to be able to take
have an answer and be able to help guide them through that.
Exactly. So I think foundational things are where we need to be more effective in.
Sure.
And then I think it would lessen all of the other problems when it comes to the additional part.
So you bring up a good point just talking about foundations, because isn't that the foundation of what we have as traditions? Because something was laid in order to create the tradition itself. So it does matter. Like sometimes people don't see how things correlate or how they connect, but in a lot of ways they do.
They do.
So when you mentioned, the foundations and how those different things are so important, that's how traditions are created. So sometimes if you've grown up without certain holiday traditions and you wanted to not repeat that kind of thing with your own children, you will lay a foundation that says, okay, with my kids, I'm going to do it this way because I want to have these kind of traditions, and this will be, an earmark of our family. And there's nothing wrong about that. A lot of times it can be a very beautiful thing because, you may not have had a lot of money growing up and you weren't able to do things. But now that it's your family and maybe you're, in a better place financially, you can create.
You can add thou to it.
Right. So I don't know. It's just really cool how, when you can lay certain foundations for your family, you can create those traditions, because some traditions really can add to the memories that you're making with the people that you love. And those are the things that people tend to look forward to. I mean, Thanksgiving, you look forward to certain things as far as foods because it's the tradition. Like, oh, I gotta have mac and cheese, or I gotta have some yams,
greens.
Exactly. So it goes to show how important those foundations that you were talking about are, and how the traditions come out of that, and then from the traditions the memories are made. And I feel like those memories can be very, very, very important, because when you're older you'll look back on those times and you'll be like, man, we really used to do it up, or man, we really had a good time. And that can carry over into the next generation as well. And hopefully it can be, building blocks, I would hope.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that there will be, because you're going to always, there are always going to be exposures, and those exposures are the things that
open you up to new things.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I love that. So it's really cool to kind of think about the way that, traditions have carried over, but also like what we were talking about with the party line is now just social media in a sense. That has taken,
new party line.
Yeah, that's taken a digital leap. And so it's really cool to just think about all of the different ways in which things have changed. And again, it doesn't always have to be bad. It can be good and helpful, because like what you mentioned before, people are able to get information and help a lot easier and a lot more quickly now.
And and that's why it's not things are good, but sometimes the darkness comes in and offset the good. But we have to always remember the good and let that be the main focus.
Yeah.
And
you want to focus on the good. You want to have an attitude of gratitude. That's another phrase that maybe for some people could be cliche, but it is important. That's something that I personally make sure is my own mantra, like have an attitude of gratitude, because things go wrong, they go bad, and how you view it is important.
That's what the outcome determines your outcome.
Because things are going to happen.
Absolutely.
That are completely out of your control.
Absolutely.
But how you frame it from your perspective will change the attitude that you have behind it, and it can turn around and be positive later.
Yes,
and it can be an area of growth. So I'm excited because this is such a great conversation to talk about. Again, we're talking about holiday traditions. We're talking about the beliefs that we have behind them and how things have changed from one generation to the next.
Absolutely.
Because maybe it was a money issue, and maybe money is not an issue anymore, or maybe it was just a convenience issue, and maybe that's not an issue anymore, or it's just a technology change. There is no such thing as a party line anymore, thankfully. I can't imagine the drama. I could not imagine a party line nowadays. Oh my gosh. Or if it was a party line and social media coexisting. Oh my Lord, goodness. Jesus is the fire.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. I'm telling you. So, I love this conversation, and we're definitely going to be right back to continue this discussion after the break. You're tuned in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. Don't go anywhere, y'all. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, y'all, to WDRB Media, the voice of the community. We are streaming live free on TuneIn Radio app and Apple Music, just to name a few, because you can head on over to WDRBmedia.com and click live to listen. But this is The Digital Leap. We're your host, CookieTruth and
Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
Yeah, so we're here, y'all, talking about holiday traditions, and we're having a good time just kind of going through the history that we share, and then some of those traditions that maybe have changed from your generation to mine, Mom. But then just thinking broader, just things that have changed because of technology and all of the ways that, it has changed our perspective, because we get people that can agree with us on things, or we get people that disagree with us on things, and we got to debate and prove why we feel the way we feel, But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was not just Thanksgiving, not just Halloween, not just Christmas, but now, okay, we're about to be in 2023. Can you believe it?
Yes.
So, have you really wrapped your head around that just yet? Because I don't know that I have.
You know what?
I'll take that as a no.
Yeah, because I go back to when I could remember thinking 1995, what is it going to be like as a kid growing up? And I was always and looking, seeing the newspapers. You always see things that was basically the cost of things in 1995. Every time you pick up a newspaper or something, 1995. And I would translate that into the future and thinking, what would the year 1995 be like?
Right.
And I just could not imagine. And of course, there was word that, oh my goodness, when you all become an adult or whatever, there are going to be telephones that you'll be able to see the person that you're talking to. And
I remember seeing that at Epcot at Disney World when we went. This was years ago now. I don't even know what year that was, but I was like 12, I think. But I remember going through the ride at Epcot, and they had this phone with the camera on it, and it was like, video calling, and it was like this futuristic concept. Now, that was even for me at 12 years old, and I was like, oh, yeah, that would be cool to be able to see somebody while you're talking to them on the phone.
But realistically, you just could not really fathom that you would be able to do this. You just wonder if this is somebody's imagination or whatever, and it was. Yeah, but it was somebody's imagination.
It was.
Yeah, and that came to fruition. But, just going back and thinking about those things and just not really being able to project what it would really be like,
Yeah, so, okay, for you, everything was about 1995, and then when you get to 1995, how did you feel?
It was like, I kind of looked it back and see what changes, but I don't think it was not a digital.
It wasn't
a digital leap.
Change.
It wasn't, no. It was just like, okay.
Like technology was around and doing its own thing, but it wasn't where we are now.
In the extreme, no.
Yeah, it's not like it is now. So, okay, so to your point, you were talking about 1995. So, of course, for me, the big thing that stood out for me was when we crossed over from 1999 into Y2K.
Oh, that was a big issue, wasn't it?
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so we just knew the world was going to end.
Yes.
Or computers were going to crash.
Yes.
And electricity was going to go out.
Oh, the hoopla that went along with that.
I mean, I remember we had flashlights, we had water, we had all of the survival things that we figured we could handle on our own, you know, with our own limited expertise. And I remember we were having watch night service at church, and we had extra flashlights just in case everything went out while we were at watch night service bringing in the new year. I remember that because obviously that's a big deal if you were, you know, around during that era, and you're like, man, 1999, the 1900s are over, we into the 2000s. Like, that was a mind-blowing concept. But as far as technology, it probably took another 5 to 10 years to really get stuff really popping. So like cell phones and now social media and all of these other, you know, in between things.
And a computer in every home and the schools and all of that.
Yeah, tablets. I mean, not even a computer, just an iPad or a tablet. It's like, what? I'm reading a book on a tablet? What do you mean? An e-book? What's that?
Exactly.
So a lot definitely transitioned. So those are the kinds of things that I kind of think about when it's a new year, because I mean, to think that we're about to be in 2023 is a mind-blowing concept, because you're just like, we're 23 years past 2000.
Y2K.
Yeah, like I remember where I was bringing in the year 2000. So to be 23 years past that is crazy to me.
It's a big leap.
It's a huge leap, exactly. And so I think about the new year, and what I like to do is I like to, you know, have a plan or a vision for the new year, and I like to do those kinds of things, like whether it's a vision board, or some people have vision board parties and stuff like that. But I personally can't think of a tradition that is outside of those things. Like, I've made those things traditions for myself. Like, I want to have a plan for the new year, and I want to maybe have a vision board for the new year. But those are my own personal traditions. I really can't think of anything, even as a family, that we've done as a specific tradition, other than our normal thing really is quality time and doing things together in that way. But I know, like, for some families, it's not New Year without gumbo. Or it's not New Year without peas and rice type. Like, there's just certain food traditions that get introduced depending on maybe the cultural background, regional background, that kind of thing.
And you know, speaking about food tradition, because that was definitely one of the things as a kid growing up that we knew, you know, we looked forward to. And Hoppin' John, I don't know if people even, you know what that is.
I don't. Tell us.
Well, Hoppin' John is just peas and rice that you cook every year.
That's just the term that you guys called it?
Yeah.
See, I don't remember that, but okay.
And that was one of the things that it was like you had to have that going into the new year, because that was going to bring prosperity, and they had all these different thoughts about it, and making sure that, you know, you had something green, like greens and all of that.
Okay.
So, but then, you know, right now in my family, I never, you know, carried that over.
Right, those weren't the traditions that you carried over.
No,
right.
Because sometimes I think we carried over things from a superstitious, you know.
I'm glad you said it. Because, of course, you know the song that's playing in my head. Stevie Wonder.
That's when you believe in things you don't understand and you suffer.
I'm telling you, I need y'all who are listening to just marinate on that for a minute. When you believe in things you don't understand, you suffer.
Yes.
Point blank, period. Stevie ain't told us a lie.
No, he didn't. He never lied.
That is the truth.
Yeah, but now, you know, if it was something that I thought was, you know, worth carrying over with a better understanding, it would be fine, you know. But that's not something that I thought was, you know, that I thought I could keep, that I felt that I carried on. You know?
It
wasn't something like that.
It wasn't something that you felt that, you know, the tradition needed to be kept going and stay alive in that way. I get that. But I was also thinking in regards to food, was there anything like food-wise that we've carried over? Because I'm thinking, like I said, people do the gumbo thing and the peas and rice thing, but I don't think I can think of a food.
No, it was always just having preparing food to have a gathering. That's basically, and that goes right back to what you say, the family's love language is just quality time, and that's what we've really made time for, is the quality time and just really being sure that you're keeping in touch with one another and sharing and stuff like that. That has always been
that's always been paramount for us, for sure. And I hope that because of like the era and time that we're living in, that people do start prioritizing quality time with their families again, because people have been dropping like flies. Loss and death have just been running rampant. It feels like, at least to me, more than ever, that people are dying left and right.
And you have to take time out, because time has sped up, and if you don't prioritize that quality time, it could slip right by, and you just think that, hey, you know what, I'll see him when I see him, and then
days turn into weeks turn into months, and months turn into years before you like get back together with people.
Before you know, it might be a decade before you have gotten together.
Unfortunately, and because of people who have died and gone on, you wish that you had more quality time with people. Like, oh, I wish I didn't let so much time pass. Absolutely. So those are the kinds of things that I do think about when it comes down to like just the new year, because I don't want to carry over like any toxic relationships or bad friends or even a bad job if I don't have to, right? You want to get rid and shed the bad things. Yeah. And it doesn't always happen immediately, but those are the kinds of things that I think about when it comes down to
because you want to make room for new, and
you want to make room for the new.
Yeah, and if you hang on to a whole lot of baggage, there are, you're so preoccupied with it that the new cannot interject because you just haven't made the room available for it. Right. But I go back to 2007, that I was sitting in church, and I remember the Spirit speaking to me saying, don't wait until the new year, make plans now to go into the new year. And that has been November, and this was in November of 2007, and I've always remembered to do that.
Since then, it's been a top priority for you.
And I know people may not have that spiritual, awareness or whatever. Connection, but I think that, when you prepare, you don't wait to that moment.
Of course, that defeats the purpose of being prepared.
Exactly. Prepared. So, you should even think about it, have some plan in motion, so to go into the new year with that plan in mind.
And I think it's good for us to have our own traditions, we'll call it, that we carry over into our New Year celebration, because I do think it is good to celebrate like the new year. It's like a fresh start, a fresh beginning. So like I said, you might want to end toxic relationships. You might want to close the chapter on those things, and it might take you time. It's not that you have to do it by December 31st per se, but it is the intentionality behind it to prepare so that you are making better decisions.
Because you're conscious about it.
I would hope that we want to be better each year of our life, that we want to grow and mature.
Because I'm thinking back maybe a couple of years, or maybe a little more than a couple of years ago, but the Lord, from a spiritual perspective, the Lord revealed to me that, hey, I'm giving you every 12 months to start anew. Every
12 months. And that's the thing that's kind of interesting, is because we really do get a fresh start every year.
Every 12
months.
You
can feel it. If you're the type of person that, can feel the change in the room or in the atmosphere, you can feel it. Like the Christmas time of year is so beautiful because you can feel the joy and you can feel the love, and if you're in the right environments, of course. If you're not, you're gonna be by humbug. But the same thing with the new year, like you will feel the joy, you'll feel the love, and you'll feel the excitement of fresh things that are taking place, and that can be so, like, I would think refreshing is the word that comes to mind, because you don't have to be tied down and think that you're trapped, at least accept the fact that something new is on the horizon.
Because one place you never want to be is in a place where you like stuck in the mud, spinning your tires, trying to get out. That's one place you never want to be.
Nobody wants to be stuck.
No.
Not a single soul has ever declared.
I enjoy being stuck. No.
Not a single soul. And if you have, please reach out to us, because I would love to interview you, child. I want to know the thoughts and the feelings behind why you wanted to be stuck.
And we want to give you a line to pull you forward.
Yeah. What do they have? A rafter? Rescue somebody or something? Because I just cannot wrap my head around wanting to be stuck. Because the imagery that I have in my mind is quicksand.
Yes.
And I don't think you want to be in that.
Quicksand is not a place you want to be.
No, thank you on quicksand. So I want to continue the traditions that I've created for myself, because I just, like I said, I feel like it's healthy, because you're able to be excited about the new year. You're able to continue that newness and fresh start, and that can be really, really good for you, especially because I'm a business owner, and there's highs and lows to being an entrepreneur, but there's like this freshness that you can get when it's the new year and you're planning ahead, because you're like, you know what? Away with all of the bad stuff that has happened. We're going to focus on the things that we can control. We're going to plan ahead. We're going to prepare. And we're going to make room for the new. So I hope that you guys have traditions out there that you have introduced for yourself and maybe your family, but definitely,
most importantly, for yourself.
Yeah, for yourself, because it is almost a self-care thing, at least in my opinion, when it comes down to the new year. You need to be focused on you at a certain point. Taking care of other people is all well and good, and it's necessary at times, but you do have to take care of you too, and I feel like the new year gives us an opportunity to do that.
I always refer to this little thing about when you're on the airplane. They say, should you lose oxygen and the mask come down, put yours on first, and then you can assist someone else.
And isn't that interesting that you're supposed to put yours on first? But in the movies, they never show you that. In the movies, they show you putting someone else's on. Isn't that something?
And the scripture, and I'm going to just say this, it says that when you have been, when you have gotten yourself together, more or less, I'm rephrasing, then once you've helped, once you have once you've gotten yourself together, more or less, then you can help the other.
Then you can help other people, and that's the way it should be, because if you're a whole person, you're going to do much better helping somebody else than if you were not a whole person.
And then it would be really a good help, strong help.
Solid help, and being reliable help.
Yes.
So we are going to just take a quick break. We're having an amazing conversation talking about holidays and traditions as we navigate things in this digital age. We're taking this digital leap. You're tuned in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, and don't go anywhere, y'all. We'll be right back. This last segment is a 10-minute segment, so it should be good, right? Welcome back, y'all, to WDRB Media, the voice of the community. You are tuned into the Digital Leap Radio Show with your host. I'm CookieTruth.
And I'm Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
Yeah, and today we are having an amazing discussion, sharing our traditions and our beliefs behind some of like our holiday stuff compared to how we were just viewing things differently growing up. So your holiday traditions weren't necessarily carrying over into my holiday traditions growing up, because you were from the country, I was raised in the city. Those kind of things differ, but we're talking about these things because the digital leap has created just a difference in how we view and how we celebrate. Just a different kind of world we're living in.
Yeah, it has changed things tremendously, because things are, as we talked about the party line. We gotta always bring that in.
Go back to the party line, y'all. Gotta circle back to the party line.
Yeah, we still have a party line today, but it's a digital party line as opposed to regular landline type of thing.
Right, because most of y'all don't even have a landline. I know I don't.
I don't either. But I grew up with one.
Right, but no, it's really interesting how how like the traditions have changed, and not all in a bad way.
Absolutely.
But it also has changed how we do business, because the things that you used to have to go to see in person, you can stream it now from your phone or just watch it on TV. Like, it's just a huge difference in how we can enjoy things.
Like Zoom parties and stuff. Who ever thought about it?
I know. Like and having karaoke on Zoom to celebrate people's birthdays.
Or calling the supermarket and putting in an order and having it delivered to your home.
Yeah, you can use a app now, y'all. Download any grocery app for the most part, and you can probably order your groceries and schedule to have it delivered at your door, or at least a third-party service will do it for you.
And as a kid, when I look back as a kid, that was not even heard of. You might have
foreign concept.
Yes, the only time that you might have put an order in is somebody was going to the store and you would ask them to pick up.
Exactly. That was you putting in an order. Somebody else was going, can you give me 2 eggs? 2 eggs. But no, it's really interesting though, because I thought about how, I think it was for Thanksgiving, we had forgot a couple things, and instead of having to like go back to the store, I was like, you know what, I'm about to just order this stuff through this little app and having people bring it, because we got to get to cooking, we got stuff to do. So to have somebody else bring what we needed saved us the hassle, in the sense of having to leave, find parking,
turn off the stoves or whatever.
Yeah, all of that. So it's really, really interesting when you really think about it, how technology has provided a level of convenience. Like that's part of the digital leap, is like things have been created to make your life hopefully a little bit more convenient,
and
having things at your fingertips.
And then the different jobs that it has opened up.
Jobs given and jobs taken away.
Well, that's true too.
I mean, self-checkout now is the thing.
But you know what? But then the job has changed, because somebody has to figure out how to
program the self-checkout machines or repair them. Absolutely.
So the jobs, it hasn't really taken it away.
It just changed. Yeah, because the same person that would have gotten hired to be the cashier checkout person is not necessarily going to be the same person that gets hired to fix or repair it, because there's just it's going to be a different skill set that's needed in order to accommodate that change. Yeah,
and a person will probably have to go to some type of school to really learn how to prepare and make it help them to with a job type of thing.
The skill set is going to be different. The know-how is going to be different. The way that you approach these things now, you have to keep that in mind. Like when you're applying for a job, you might want to keep that in mind. Like, ooh, is this a job that is going to be obsolete? Because it's fine if you need that job right then and there, but you ain't gonna bet on that for the next 5 years or so. Do people even keep jobs for 5 years now? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it all depends on what job. Like a teacher,
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
Depending on what the job is, of course, it will, change the time frame in which you stand in that role. But just in regards to our example, being a cashier at the supermarket,
I don't know if that is.
I don't think people are really keeping that job for more than a couple years.
But a job I think that will always be available is a restaurant type of job, being a waitress and stuff like that. Those jobs, now people may keep those for a long period of time, providing, if that's something that they like doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if it's something that they like doing, I'm sure that they will, that might be something that will be lasting. And maybe retiring, you never know.
Yeah, that's something that's really interesting about the whole thing too, is because, back in the day, if somebody worked 40 years or 30 years on the same job, everybody is going to celebrate, have a retirement party or whatever.
Absolutely.
And now that's just an entirely different thing. Like you celebrate, obviously, if people have tenured a job for a while, but it's not the same kind of respectability to having a job for that long, because the God's honest truth is that you really just don't have to. Like, you don't have to work the same job that long unless you're in a specific field, like a skilled job where you're a plumber and that's a skilled trade type of work that you're doing. So you might do that for 30 plus years. It's a skilled trade, HVAC, or I don't know, those kind of things. Or being a professor, you'll do that for a long time.
So there are jobs that will, carry out through, retirement if people want that to be, but it's a possibility. That's what I think we need to look at. That these are jobs with possibilities of longevity.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I know that again, just this whole conversation about like traditions and what that looks like around the holidays and what that looks like. We talked about Halloween, we talked about Christmas, we talked about Thanksgiving as well, and even with the New Year. So it's just kind of interesting how, like, all right, we have this fresh start of the new year. We have the ways that we want to prioritize our self-care, if we want to use that term, because I do believe that, you should be celebrating you when it comes down to New Year. I think it's very healthy and important to love yourself into a new year, to give yourself space to enjoy that new year.
And be positive in sharpening, like the scripture says, iron sharpens iron.
Oh, yeah.
So when you are sharp, you'll be able to sharpen someone else, and you would be able to remain healthy in that regard, because hopefully you'll be in a place where as you sharpen, somebody else will keep you sharpened,
Yeah, I think those things are important, because as we wrap up this discussion, just talking about the traditions and the holidays and the beliefs that we may see differently and things like that. I think it is so important to just envision, y'all, what we talked about before with the foundation being laid, how those foundations can lead to the traditions that you create for you and your family, and then how those traditions that you create really can create also the lasting memories that can carry on into a child's adulthood when they look back and say, man, I really enjoyed those traditions, and they'll either build on that themselves and lay a new foundation, or to be something that carries over for their family. But then to talk about just the importance of loving yourself and allowing that to be a strong belief, but also a strong tradition that you create for yourself. Like, everything really does come full circle, because it's important. Those kinds of things are important. So to act like it doesn't matter and forget that stuff, it sounds good when you have an attitude and you're mad at folks, but the reality is, it is important.
It is important, for sure. And I think that that's what helps keep us strengthened and help us to be productive, and all of those positive things that we look forward to in life and wanting to share with others and make it, and building friendship and everything within families and everything,
in every aspect.
In every aspect, for sure.
So if you don't get anything else out of this conversation with us today on the Digital Leap, please know that all traditions are not bad.
Right.
And it is healthy to have those kind of traditions, even if it's something that you create for yourself, to be a better person, to be a whole person, to be a person that is more reliable because you've done the work on yourself. And that can bleed over into taking care of your family better. It can bleed over into taking better care of yourself and your business if you have a business. You're just a better friend. And we all can use good friends.
Amen.
I mean, everybody needs folks around them that love and support them, and it can start with traditions. It can start with those foundations being laid. It's all connected.
It definitely is.
Definitely. So we thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Continue to tune in every Wednesday at 3 p.m. for the Digital Leap radio show here on WDRB Media. And you can click on the radio show tab if you're on our website, WDRBmedia.com, and you will definitely enjoy the things that we have planned for you, the interviews, the new ideas, the new concepts that we want to discuss. We're excited for you to join us Wednesdays at 3. So again, this has been the Digital Leap with your hosts, CookieTruth and
Light Straighten Robinson, the Watcher,
here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community, where you're getting double the information and inspiration. Until next week, continue to be blessed, y'all.
Yes.
Peace.